the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today we have a very special guest. He's a colleague of mine at the LVGEA. Please help me welcome Glenn Christenson, who's the managing director of Vestland Investments and a longtime member of the LVGEA. Welcome, Glenn.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you again. Tina, wants us to really give you the opportunity to talk about why is it meaningful for you to have served so many years at the LVGEA, which we're grateful for because you're teaching, I think, us newcomers. You're setting the standard high so that we can continue that good work that you've started. But before we get to the LVGEA and economic development and workforce development, share with us where you were born, where you grew up, where you went to school, college, and perhaps your first job. Share that first piece of your journey with us.
All right, thank you. Well, it was a long time ago that I was born, but my parents met in San Francisco shortly after the war, and they worked for Pan American Airlines, and they got married in San Francisco, moved to Honolulu, Hawaii, and 2 years later I was born in Honolulu.
Wow.
Well, that was the good news. The bad news is 6 months later, my folks decided they wanted to move to Davenport, Iowa.
Oh, big change.
Yeah, they were working for Firestone, and Dad had several jobs within the state of Iowa. And in the third grade, we moved to the Akron-Canton area. And I pretty much grew up there. I spent a lot of time playing basketball and having fun, and it really kind of shaped some of the things that have caused me to, frankly, to be here where I am today. I had hoped that to be able to play college basketball, and I went to Wittenberg University, which is really an incredible academic institution, but they also had great athletics there. It didn't turn out the way that I hoped that it would, but I was exposed to a lot of things that I would never have been otherwise. In my junior year, one of my friends came to see me. I was attending bar at the Rathskeller at our school. We served 3-2 beer there, and he wanted me to meet somebody. And so on my break, I went over and started talking. It turns out it was going to be the new accounting professor in our business school. We got to talking, and he asked me if I wouldn't take his class. And I said, gosh, accounting is so boring. I don't know that I want to. And he says, well, you've never taken my class. So I did take his class, and I learned a whole lot of things about becoming a CPA, what the profession really meant, and it really started to plant a seed with me as to what I wanted to do in my life. The other thing that I took, or other courses that I took were in finance, and I was really excited about that as well. So at the time, I thought I would be what is today referred to as a wealth advisor. And I thought, well, if I have an MBA and I have a CPA, that should pretty well set me up to do what I wanted to do in life. So I went to graduate school at Ohio State, earned my MBA in finance. I started ready to look for a job. At the time, there were 8 what they call major accounting firms. It was the big 8 firms. I had 7 firms that I already had interviewed with. I had 7 job offers. There was one firm left, Haskins & Sells. And I was pretty flippant, to be honest with you. And I came in, I was meeting with the partner in charge of the Columbus office. And he said, well, Glenn, what brings you here today? What are you trying to accomplish in this interview? And I said, my one goal is to get as far away from Ohio as I could. Thinking back on it, it wasn't exactly the way to answer the question. But as it turns out, he was at a partners meeting a week or 2 before, and the partner in charge of the Las Vegas office was looking for people from the Midwest. The reason there was an office here was to keep track of Howard Hughes' interests. So at the time, Hughes had a number of casinos. He had land, which ultimately became Summerlin. There was mining here. He owned KLS TV. Wow. And the partner in charge here was looking for some diversity. So the Columbus partner said, well, would you be interested in interviewing in Las Vegas? Well, it was all expenses paid trip to Las Vegas. I'd never been west of the Mississippi, so wow. I was excited about that. The day that I got on the plane to come out here and interview, I hadn't seen the sun for over a month. It was wet, sleeting, cold. And when I got off the plane in Las Vegas, the sun was shining. Wow. It was warm. There's a gas station there today at Flamingo in Paradise. And they had a flagpole, and the flag was gently waving. I said, this is going to work for me. Wow. So in December, a few weeks later, December 31st, 1972 was my first day here working at Haskins & Sells.
Wow, that's amazing. That starts to set the tone again for why I was going to ask this next to take us through the next pieces of your journey, because that's where it starts. But then you have multiple stops through the banking, hospitality, and finance industries. And I know in there, because I always hear them talking about you, another young LVGEA bucks, Tom Burns and Clark Woods. Mm-hmm. I always credit you with the beginning of their journeys as well. So can you fill in those gaps for us?
Sure. Well, I ultimately spent 17 years with Deloitte. I became a partner. I headed up the national hospitality audit function, and I also headed up the Nevada audit function as well. So part of my responsibilities was hiring people, and I hired both Clark Wood and Tom Burns.
Good guys?
Well, I somehow overcame that mistake, but it all worked out at the end.
It did.
One of the things that I'm really proud of, though, is I don't have a degree in accounting. I'm in the Nevada Society of CPAs Hall of Fame for Business and Industry, wow. But I don't have a degree in accounting.
Wow. That is interesting, yeah, because our CFO position here requires a CPA in accounting, but I always wonder, that doesn't have to be a degree, it's just a certification, right? Anybody can test for the CPA, or?
Well, yes, but. So what I found out very quickly is I really needed all those classes mm-hmm. to become a CPA. So a lot of those classes I ended up essentially taking on my own. I had 2 years for my experience requirement, and then you had to pass the CPA exam. I was able to do that, but it was a tough struggle. And I'm very proud and still keep my CPA certificate active today, but there's no way in the world that I would ever practice again.
Oh, but you do have to do the continuing credits and to keep it alive.
40 hours every year.
Wow, look at you. And so I want to go back to get to the LVGEA, because I remember you had involvement from before it was the LVGEA. It was the NDA. And so tell us about why it's been so important for you to dedicate that time, to volunteer all that time, your resources, your wisdom, experience to what used to be the NDA and now is the LVGEA.
Well, after 17 years with Deloitte, I decided I wanted to do something different. Ultimately became the Executive Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Chief Administrative Officer for Station Casinos. And in around 2000, we divested of our operations in Missouri, and all of our operations were then here in southern Nevada. What I thought was important that we, as a company, get a lot more involved in the community. So I went on the board of the Chamber and also the Nevada Development Authority. I felt it was good to bring in new businesses because those new businesses brought new customers for us. By 2007, the Fertitta family decided they wanted to take the company private, and I really didn't want to be part of a private company. I thought basically all we'd be doing is paying down debt. It didn't turn out that way. About a year later, the company ended up in bankruptcy because of the Great Depression, after my watch, by the way.
Yeah.
But not to worry. Frank and Lorenzo brought the company out of bankruptcy a couple of years later and ended up owning more of the company than they did going in. So they're really smart guys, and it worked out well for them. But at any rate, I'm sitting here in 2007, and I realized I had a blank sheet of paper. With the buyout, it helped our family to be financially secure, and I could do literally anything that I wanted. And one of the things that you heard in our community is, why aren't we more diversified? Mm-hmm. And so I was asked by the board at that time to kind of get in line and be the chairman, which I did in 2009. But I had some pretty definitive thoughts about what economic development meant. The mission of the Nevada Development Authority was really pretty narrow. It was bringing non-gaming related businesses to Southern Nevada. But I knew there was a lot more to it than that. It's the attraction, the expansion, the retention, as well as diversification of businesses. So I knew we had to start doing some things differently. The first thing is that I knew that we need different leadership. The leader of the NDA for around 20 years was a fellow named Summer Hollingsworth.
Yep.
Summer was a great guy, and within the mission that he was given, he did a terrific job, but we needed to expand. And I asked him to stay on, kind of transition into new leadership. And I then put together a small group of members of our board of directors, but I also went outside the institution. I firmly believe that economic development is a team sport. Mm-hmm. And so I asked some people who I'm sure you know, Betsy Fretwell when she was the city manager, Kristen McMillan when she was the head of the chamber, and Poonam Mather, who needs no introduction, among others. And we did a national search, and we came down with the right guy. He's out of Tampa, did an incredible job there in terms of economic development. And we thought we had him in the boat, but his wife at the last minute decided she couldn't leave Florida, and he frankly had some concerns about the gaming industry supporting economic development. But ultimately, through this process, we ended up with Tom Skanke. And I had worked with Tom when I was at Station Casinos, and I knew one of the many skills that he has was to get involved in what I'll call distressed situations, and I felt that's where we were at the NDA. So Tom and I worked together with members of the board, and we started rethinking economic development, which is one of the first things we did was to change the name. Las Vegas, because it's the best brand, certainly most known brand in the world. Global, because we had a global economy here, and we wanted to expand that global economy. Economic, obviously. An alliance. Alliance meant that we were working together as a team. This next thing we did was to restructure the board. And we started making a specific effort to bring in people from the public sector, the private sector, and education, because it takes all those groups to make things work. We had we came up with the concept of the LVGEA 50, and you look at this board today, it's a board of who's who, and we're getting a lot of things done, and I'm really excited about what we're accomplishing.
We have a retreat here pretty soon that we're preparing to. Tina sent us the materials already.
Yes, and I'm really excited about a 10-year plan. One of the things that I've mentioned to Tina, though, is sometimes I wonder if that's even enough. It's a long time, but you go back 20 years ago, we were just building Red Rock Station, and it seems like yesterday. Yeah. And so there's 10 years is a lot of time, but I think we need to be thinking even farther.
Yeah, time flies. This you mentioned Poonam, a great friend and colleague of mine at the MGM. Yesterday, you saw in the news that the Mirage is closing its doors, and I opened that property. And like you said, it doesn't seem that long ago, but I guess it's been 34 years.
Yes.
So time does go by fast. So I'm excited too about what we're going to be talking about or begin discussing at the UFC at the strategic retreat. But let's build onto this diversification. One of the things, Glenn, that the LVGEA does is also our comprehensive economic development strategy for our region, our SEDS, identified 7 target industries to diversify, as you said. And last 2 years ago now, again, time is flying, in 2022, Workforce Connections, on behalf of the region LVGEA, work with the Chambers of Commerce, the K-12 system, to stand up industry sector partnerships, to bring in small, medium, large employers from those 7 industries and start to really ask them, tell us about that demand side. Let us not tell you from our side of a talent supply what you need, but instead tell us the challenges so that we can see, do we have the resources to solve them? And one of the most important things that came out of it, and I know you know this because you've been in this space for a long time, is they said, Jaime, we've been wanting a more robust connection to the K-12 system. So we feel when we talk to teachers, they don't They're not familiar with the new labor market. They're not familiar with our needs, and there's not defined career pathways to these new industries. And so we have been working very hard successfully. We're grateful that even though CCSD is huge and difficult, sometimes it's a difficult task, we have made lots of progress in embedding the needs of employers into not just high schools, but middle schools and elementary schools. Nobody more than you, I believe, knows why this is important, Glenn. Why is that important to align the talent supply efforts or the workforce development efforts to meet the needs of business? And why is that communication important between the employers and us?
It's absolutely critical. One of the early studies that we did as an LVGEA is to find out why businesses weren't coming here. And in our research, we found that 35% of the businesses not coming here weren't coming either because of our education system or a lack of workforce. And so, that's about all you need to know in terms of how important this is for the economic diversification and development of our community.
Yeah. Besides that, because again, I know you've been a strong advocate for years about it, and hopefully you know that we here at Workforce Connections are willing and ready to do anything to do our part. As a board member of the LVGA, you know that door is open for those requests. What else besides working on a more robust connectivity for the industries that we're trying to, as you say, not just attract, but retain and grow? What other things can we do to make sure that this economic diversification continues in a prosperous and healthy way in our region?
What I'd really like to see, and it's starting to come together, is a more structured approach to how we address workforce development in our community. And to do that, and to be successful in this community, the only way you can do it is get everybody around the table. It's not just the folks that are in workforce, the youth folks, Goodwill, whoever. It's the university system. It's K through 12. It's not only CCSD, it's the charter schools, the private schools, micro schools. We need to have a more solid structure and more organized approach to it. Tina's been talking about this whole concept of yellow pages, which is kind of what you're talking about, where an employer can come in and I need this, and this, and we flip it over it, and there it is. I think that's an incredible idea and certainly would put us on a cutting edge of economic development. But it's those kind of out-of-the-box thoughts that I think are so important. It seems like we're finally starting to recognize some of this stuff. Right. I don't know why it has been so hard, right. But I'm optimistic about where it'll go.
Good. Well, if you're optimistic, I have to be too, because again, I recognize that you've been saying this for a long time. And so we're ready to lean in and push. Again, as you said, we have conversations coming up as board members that hopefully will continue to flame that fire. And what I'm excited about, Glenn, is if you, and you're welcome to come to any of the convenings of the industry sector partnerships, but it's really exciting to hear employers say things like, this is the first time I felt heard as an employer by the public sector, or say things like, I didn't know that this could be done, or to say things like, we're willing to put skin in the game. You don't have to pay for it. I will. I just need help. And so I think we are more primed than ever. And so I join you in your optimism. And hopefully after the retreat, we can, start to dig down on some initiatives.
Well, you're probably talking to the wrong guy, because I came here in, like I said, 1972. We had about 225,000 people. And look what Las Vegas has become. I absolutely believe this community can do anything that it sets its mind to. So as the attention now is more on workforce, as we're getting more structured, as we're looking at these industry sectors that we like to attract. This morning we had, through the LVGEA, a presentation on biotech. And I've kind of wondered about biotech, but the speaker came in and was talking about all the things that are going on now and the advantages that we have coming here, especially almost with a clean sheet of paper. As they were talking about, we only have 50,000 square feet of wet labs here. Well, now you start thinking about, wow, we start bringing this industry in. It creates opportunities for development, more opportunities for jobs. It's really exciting, and I think it's something that we can do.
Yeah, me too. I think I can't remember what meeting it was, but you've been to the Vitica site, right? The wet labs, and I know there's a desire to do another one like that near the Blackfire building, the UNLV, and so all that is exciting. Again, Glenn, I always when I look at you, I always get inspired because I know you could choose to say, "I've done my part, you guys do the rest," but you stay involved. You continue to give your time, your resources. But what do you do when you're not working, volunteering? What do you do for fun? What are the hobbies, activities that make you happy?
A lot of those things are fun, although there are times when I get tired of pounding my forehead against the wall because things don't move fast enough. Describing myself, I would say I worry more about losing than I do the wins. If I get 9 wins and 1 loss, I'm worried about why didn't we get that one. It's really a matter of perseverance, but I love to play golf. One of the things that my wife Andy and I set as a goal is when I retired, I wanted to live in a golf course community, and I wanted to play. And a lot of my friends are there now, and
great.
It's again, it can be a frustrating game, but I really enjoy it.
That's good. That's good to hear that you're enjoying that. Then I know also your legacy doesn't need, I think, this, but. Every time I go to visit our friend Darion Pollard, Dr. Pollard at Nevada State University, I see that building with your name on it. And again, to me, I've seen your work, and the legacy to me is very visible there too. But what does it mean for you? What has it meant for you to be a part of that and to leave that piece of your legacy behind there in that campus?
Well, I don't really think much about in terms of legacy, but. It's rather interesting. I was at Station Casinos, and one day Brian Greenspun and then the mayor of Henderson, Jim Gibson, came to see Frank Fertitta III and I, and they had this idea of having a state college in Henderson, and they wanted $250,000 from us to help in the lobbying effort to have the school approved in the legislature. Well, Brian Greenspun was our partner at Green Valley Ranch, and we had a huge investment in Henderson, so we couldn't very well say no. And then after the discussion approving it, Mayor Gibson said, "We're starting a foundation for this college, and Frank, we'd like you to be on the board." And Frank says, I don't do boards, but Glenn here will do it. And I remember walking out of his office and shaking my head. It's like, I don't have time for this kind of stuff. But what I found is that we were really catering towards underserved kids. Almost all of them are first generation. Almost all of them are in some sort of financial assistance. And this is exactly the kinds of things that Andy and I have been excited about. Well, we went through all the ups and downs, and they almost closed the school in 2009. Finally, getting some stability in the leadership there through Bart Patterson. And it came down to the legislature was coming up. Somebody needed to step up, and Andy and I sat down and we said, "Well, this probably makes some sense." We're both huge education advocates, and coming back to how do we solve some of these problems? We are chronically short of teachers in this community. So, one way to demonstrate the importance of not only the university but the importance of education is to really focus on training more teachers. So we were happy to do it.
Yeah, it's I don't live too far away, so again, every time I go on campus, I think about you, and I'm grateful that you made that investment as well for the future of our community. There's probably a lot of people here, Glenn, that again know you already, but we work also with young people, as you know, and if somebody's listening that's younger and says, "Wow, what a rich journey, Deloitte and banking, hospitality, finance, it's an amazing journey." And now, of course, to have the opportunity to impact our community with your resources and your time, it seems like improbable, but if you made it, and what advice would you give a young boy or girl who said, "I would love to live the life that Glenn Christenson lived"? What advice could you give them?
I would like to see them live that life. That's one of the reasons that we do the things that we do. I guess the first thing I would tell them is understand who you are and what is it that you're trying to accomplish. There are various leadership styles. When I think of leaders, I think of General Patton, an autocrat. Mm-hmm. Well, that wasn't going to work for me. I'm more of a team builder, a collaborator. I guess that goes back to some of the athletic teams that I've been on. It's a lot more fun celebrating winning with your teammates than it is by yourself. I would develop skills that work for you. I'm a pretty candid guy. If you ask me something, I'll tell you what I think, and you can be sure that I'm not going to tell the next guy something else because I really have any hidden agendas. I think that's one thing. Know yourself. Know what kind of management style makes sense for you. Be prepared. It kind of sounds like a Boy Scout. I guess it is a Boy Scout motto. But when you are talking about things, people will give you a lot of deference and appreciation if you actually know what you're talking about. And to me, that really starts with a good education. If you have a good education, you can think critically, you can analyze information well, you can communicate well. Those things are absolutely critical if you're going to be an effective leader. A lot of times when I talk with young people, I strongly suggest that they set goals for themselves. And it's typically a 5-year goal. I don't think you know where you're going unless you've got some knowledge about where you're trying to go. It's interesting because I'm kind of doing that for myself right now. I've done this since I was a junior in high school, and I'm thinking about now what do I want to accomplish in the next 5 years. Be prepared to work hard. I don't know any really effective leaders that aren't the hardest working person in the effort. I talk with young people, and they talk about work-life balance. And I understand it, but there are trade-offs with that, and you just have to be willing to understand the trade-offs of leadership because there's some drawbacks in being the leader, but there's also some drawbacks in having more of a balanced approach. There's a fine line in there to where to put it, and finding that is really important. I would add perseverance. Things don't always come at the time you think that they should. A lot of times your plans and God's plans for you are not the same. And just keep after it. Sooner or later, it'll all make sense. And I guess maybe the last thing I would suggest to them is don't paint yourself in a corner. Keep your options open, and no matter what you do. Whether it's, say, on the job, one way to keep your options open is to make yourself invaluable. Be the best person at what you do in your organization. You'll generally be the last one terminated if that's needed. But my dad used to tell me, do the jobs that nobody else wants to do, and you'll become invaluable. But that also gives you options with other companies and other opportunities. So keep your options open.
That's really good advice. And I do know firsthand that you are a guy who says what he means and means what he says. Quite simply like that, you've proven that to me. So I want to thank you for being here, sharing your wisdom, sharing about what economic development and workforce development mean to you. I'd like to turn over the mic to you one last time to share any parting thoughts. We've already shared that we have a retreat with all our LVGEA colleagues coming up, but is there any other event, gathering that you'd like to share with our listeners or conveners?
Oh gosh, there's so many things, but find something that is important to you. Andy and I have really kind of focused on education and economic development, but there's so many organizations out there that need help financially and other resources. To me, I've had 3 careers, 17 years in public accounting, 17 years with station, and now 17 years in philanthropy. Wow. And philanthropy to me isn't writing a check. That can be part of it, but it's really more about taking what skills and talents that you have and apply them to help the community in some way. There's lots of organizations that need help right now, and I encourage people to do it. I think they'll get a strong return on their investment.
Great advice, Glenn. And I'm glad the LVGEA doesn't have to write a check for your time, because I don't know we could afford it. So
Yeah.
but we're grateful that you are still giving us all this time and resources. Thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
And looking forward to a next visit soon.
Great, me too.
All right.
Thank you.
So that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at another one. Until then, stay safe. Well, Glenn, thank you for staying and doing our bonus segment called Against the Wall.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yep.
The first segment is called Your Favorites, where I'm going to give you a category and you're going to give me your favorite in that category. Let's start with an easy one. What's your favorite food?
Oh, probably a filet.
Okay,
Yeah.
filet mignon. Favorite movie?
Oh, there's so many of them. Animal House, Patton. Gosh. Oh, Godfather.
Oh,
Probably
yeah,
put
the trilogy.
Godfather
That's
at the
good
top.
ones. How about a book? You have a favorite book?
I don't know that I have a favorite book. I love to read. I can never get enough.
Okay.
So,
How about back in high school? What was your favorite subject?
probably math. I had a biology teacher, though, that was absolutely fantastic. In fact, I'm still in contact with some of my old teachers.
Wow.
That, again, was a very big influence on me and why I'm so such an advocate for education.
Remarkable. What about college? Favorite subject in college?
Finance.
Yep. Your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Your favorite sports team?
Gosh, I have so many of those. I have to say the Ohio State Buckeyes.
All right. Yeah, you went to school there. How about your favorite Las Vegas sports team?
The Rebels.
All right. You made it through the first segment. The second one is called Tough Choices. I'm going to give you two choices. Hopefully you can pick one. You ready?
Okay.
Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Would you rather drive to your vacation spot or fly there?
I don't care.
Once you get there, rather be in a hotel or an Airbnb?
Hotel.
Would you rather spend a day by the ocean or hiking in the mountains?
Ocean.
Retire on a ranch or in the city?
Golf course.
Should have said golf course. I was going to say. Would you rather work with people or with numbers?
People.
Would you rather invest in stocks or bonds? This advice for us now.
Yeah.
Wealth management.
Let's talk about stocks. Let's talk about stocks.
Here's a hard one. Justice or grace?
I think you have to have both. They go together to me.
Yep. Another hard one. Actions or words?
Oh, big time action.
All right.
Talk's cheap.
All right. So you finished Tough Choices. The last segment is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you about 95% of a sentence. You're going to finish it for me. You ready?
Yeah.
If Glenn could live anywhere, it would be
Las Vegas.
the best part of living in Nevada is
It's about the whole culture of this city. You know, we talked earlier about growth and what it was to what it has become today. So it's an exciting place to be. There's no place like it on earth.
It is. Glenn's favorite thing about his job is?
Well, now it's doing whatever I want, whenever
right.
I want.
That's
right. Before I like setting goals and accomplishing them.
Good.
And doing it as part of a team.
Yep. Very good. And if Glenn could travel back in time, he would travel to?
You know what? I don't know that there's been a better time in history to be alive than now.
Wow.
I might look at my parents and when they grew up, in the 20s and the roaring 20s and then the Depression and the war, and they've seen all these things happen since then. My mother's 96 years old and she's still alive. Wow. My dad passed away when he was 96. So the things that they got to see were absolutely amazing. But boy, you think about the things that I experienced when I was a kid compared to where we are now. It's pretty remarkable.
Remarkable change, yeah. 3 words that describe Glenn are?
Oh, gosh. I'm not sure that I would know exactly what to say.
What would Andy say?
Oh, we probably can't publish that here. No, look, there are things that I really care about and I'm passionate about, and I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and do things that to get us there. I'm very goal oriented, and I try to make things better around me.
Yeah. So I heard you're caring, you're passionate, and you're a hard worker.
I can take
that list.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Final question. Doing the WC podcast here today with us was
fun.
All right.
I was happy I did it.
I'm glad you came. Thank you for staying over and doing the bonus segment.
Anytime. Thank you.